All right, let's then have this conversation as we're looking at this particular issue, especially when you think about what has been happening around the political killings. And this, of course, is one of those issues that has been of grave concern. And a report by Global Initiative has revealed that political killings, in fact, in the country have increased since, and of course, this is since 2020. And KwaZulu-Natal appears to be the epicenter here. And just this week, remember, we were bringing you a story of a councillor who was shot and killed in KwaZulu-Natal. And this is someone who, in fact, found themselves being targeted because it was not the first attempt to their lives. Let's now speak to Rumbi Matamba, who's a Global Initiative against Transnational Organized Crime Analyst, and joins us live now. Rumbi, thank you so much for your time. You say that these appear to have increased since 2020. It's startling and it's very disturbing, and we've been seeing reports of these particular incidents. How bad is it?
So thank you for having me, Bongiwe. It's really bad. What we have recorded is an increase since around 2018, which was only slightly disrupted by the COVID-19 pandemic. But since then, we have started seeing another alarming increase again in targeted killings.
And is it an issue? You know, Rumbi, when one thinks about what is happening here, there's often so much that gets said about what could be the reason. Sometimes we hear that it's an access to resources, they're fighting over resources. Others are saying that these could be revenge killings. And I wonder, in the work that you've done, what are you finding?
So we found that a lot of the motivations, particularly when it comes to political killings and politically related killings, are contestations over political seats in particular. And then when we look at local government elections, for example, it's contestations over local municipality seats, because those give access to municipality finances. So contests over tenders, for example.
And several commissions, I'm sure you remember, have been set up to look into this, and police have been probing as well. And one thinks about it at the top of their head, the Moerane Commission, for example. Yet here we are, and we're seeing that things aren't getting better. And I wonder, from where you are and what you've been able to uncover, why are we not able to get over this problem?
So what we found is there are quite a few reasons, and maybe some of them, just to talk about them here, would be a lack of investigations, targeted investigations into clusters of political violence. Another thing also that we found is that there hasn't been specific responses looking at the pools of hitmen that are sourced to conduct these killings. And then thirdly, what we've also found, because our database has shown that all but one of the targeted killings we recorded last year were conducted using firearms. There hasn't been targeted responses aimed at reducing firearms that are out in the public that are used to perpetrate these crimes.
Is there a capacity to conduct these targeted investigations?
So we've heard from the police minister that there has been a task team that has been set up to investigate these targeted killings, and recently reports that they have recorded some successes in prosecutions, as well as in ongoing cases, court cases, which is a glimmer of hope, of course. But because, as we see in the news, and which you mentioned earlier, that there are increases that we're seeing, particularly also as we head towards the 2024 elections, it may seem that they need to increase, firstly, their investigative capacity, but also prosecutorial capacity as well, so that the cases that are within litigation at the moment are also resolved.
And I was going to go to that, because it also just ties in, as you think about this integrated approach, that investigations must be so thorough that when a case gets before a presiding officer, it is a watertight case, and therefore you are able to secure more convictions.
Absolutely, I agree. And we saw from the reports from the police minister that they have been disruptions in some cases because of delays within the prosecutorial process, and sometimes some cases fall within the cracks because of these delays that are in the prosecutorial and court processes.
So what is making KwaZulu-Natal a hotbed for such attacks?
So historically, we found that KwaZulu-Natal has been an area of political violence, just historically. But we also find that because a lot of the hitmen that are recruited to conduct these killings are sourced from within the taxi industry, where KZN hosts quite a large number of taxi associations, that also integrates into the high levels of political killings within the region.
And while we focus on KwaZulu-Natal, for example, I see your report is also taking us through to Eastern Cape. And this is somewhere where we need to also be concerned as a nation, as we're seeing numbers are also worrying there.
Absolutely, Bongiwe. So what we saw within the report is that in 2022, while cases were high in KZN, we saw that there was starting to be an increase in other provinces as well. The Eastern Cape being the second highest recorded, with 10 cases, 10 politically related cases that we recorded, whereas KZN had 21 in 2022. So that increase in the Eastern Cape is concerning because it's a trend that we had not seen within our database before.
Rumbi, it's a very concerning picture, and when one goes through your report, there's just so much that is worrying, and I certainly hope that a lot of it gets to be read and unpacked and really understood for what it is, because it also does have some serious clues and things that can be done to try and limit this. That is Rumbi Matamba, Global Initiative Against Transnational Organized Crime Analyst.